The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it's Monday in a Riv after a rather hectic weekend. 3 sent to the hospital after shooting in Fall River. Wow, more good public relations, huh?
All right, got to get that
build that market, raise it, housing, and they shall come.
Yeah, with guns.
With guns,
with
yeah,
guns and knives
and drugs.
Yeah, let's notify the tourism director that she needs to get on this right away.
Yeah, get on this baby.
Or he.
The tourism director. Absent most of the time. As he said, we have far more problems than we want to accept, especially in a political season. They want to sugarcoat everything, but you can't avoid this stuff. There's a shooting or a stabbing, or this unfortunately probably does totally deserve the title of the most dangerous city in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
I agree.
Per capita. And unfortunately, that is not a tourist. That is not a plus for tourism. Then we get that virtually the entire school system was indicted for lack of performance. Again, another thing that people who you want to come to your community, what's the first thing they check? The school system and the crime.
Those are the two things.
Those are the two primary things they check before they relocate.
As a matter of fact, realtors push that.
That's right.
They push that a lot.
Yeah.
You always hear them say, "Oh, we have great schools in this area." It's a very low crime area.
The Chamber of Commerce says it even if it isn't true.
Exactly.
They said we were a low crime area.
Right.
So, I mean, you got to really do your own research, and obviously if you do, we've got a problem. So, look, unfortunately, I guess the 3 victims are now in Rhode Island Hospital, and they're non-life threatening. Again, fortunately, not good shots, whoever's shooting.
Well,
but
you know how Fall River is. Yeah. 20 shots, they'll be surprised if they hit the wall.
That's right. But I know that you had a little, the weekend flush, and you've had some Facebook interactions, which is the reason I don't do. And I know that you got into some repartee with some people.
I always get into repartee with people.
You got a phone call from a pseudo candidate. I'm using pseudo candidate because technically, can you really be a candidate if you didn't go through the process of taking out nomination papers and going through the primary election and competing against the other people who want the job? I don't know. Because theoretically, if you're a write-in, everybody in the city of Fall River, and even those who aren't, like Steve Camara, can be a write-in.
On Tuesday, November 5th, write-in Chip Camara for mayor and CJ Ferry for city council. How's that sound? I was already accused of running for city council, so I might as well make it happen.
Yeah, write-in. Yeah, please. don't, please vote. And, and I know that you received a call from the candidate.
Yes, I did.
Requesting that she be allowed to come on a show. Mm-hmm. And I think we should deal with this because we're going to obviously have some issues, and we want to make preemptively, we want to make the public aware of where we stand on that issue. Number one, although I'll get to it later about my personal feelings about this and what I feel, but had this been 3 or 4 weeks ago, and you got that request, my position would have been, as we discussed yesterday, would have been, well, we'll talk to the actual person who went through the process and see if he wants to come on, and if we give him equal time, if he feels that it's okay, and he wants, and he agrees, that we would consider it. But then on second thought, I talked to a friend of mine, a good friend of mine, who goes to the gym with me, and actually we were having a discussion while we were at the gym on the treadmill. And
You do a lot of talking on that treadmill.
well, you got to kill time. I'm on there for an hour, so I mean, if I don't have somebody to talk to, I put my headsets in and listen to music. I put my earbuds in and listen to music, but an hour's a long time to spend on a treadmill. So, but we discussed politics at length, and he's a pretty astute guy when it comes to politics. He keeps a close eye on it, and he's got some good. He gives me some pretty good political input because he's a lifelong Fall River resident, and he was a businessman and a successful businessman. So he's got a pretty good perspective, and I told him that we expected, and this was before you got the call actually, because I think you got it last night. And I did get a message from her, but it was too late. I don't normally call people late at night. And by the time I listened to the message, because I didn't know the phone number, and I could have been a telemarketer, so I didn't listen to the voicemail till later. But I talked about, the possibility and how I wasn't really sure that I would be in favor of it. Specifically because I don't believe any write-in candidate should be extended the same privileges that a person who went through the election process properly. Had she declared, taken nomination papers, and gotten to the final election, then I would have said, okay, everybody deserves equal time with your opponent. Paul Coogan and Jaisal Correa were both here before the primary. They got equal time because they were candidates, as was Erica Scott Pacheco, who was a candidate, and a declared candidate who went through the nomination properly, securing the signatures. My philosophy is if you don't do that, well, you're just a write-in, and anybody can write. You can write in Donald Duck. Do we have to get Donald Duck down here and give him equal time? No. You've circumvented the process. You decided not to go through and take a shot like Erica Scott Pacheco did of getting into the finals. He said, I'll just run in the finals and just take advantage of that and get the same advantages of the people who went through the declared process for running to become the representative of the people. So that's my personal philosophy about that. If you want to be a write-in candidate, well, you can be a write-in candidate. You have the right to do that. But to me, you're not a legitimate candidate unless you go through the process and you take your shot in the primary. And that's one of the reasons that we were told that she's being allowed to still execute her duties, that she's not really a candidate. I was told in a meeting when I questioned if Kathy Ann should be allowed into these meetings because some of this information could be used for political gain. She has information that no one else has because we may be talking about things that are still being planned. And she's already talked about health care and stuff on her platform in the schools. And I questioned it, and I was told that, no, she's, basically the law department said she's a write-in, so she's not really a candidate. So you can't be a candidate and then avail yourself and get two bites of the apple, be able to get both sides. You can't be expected to be treated as a candidate if then on the other hand they're saying, well, you're not really a candidate, so you can kind of keep your job and go to meetings and things. So, and theoretically, you don't even have to declare. Somebody can just write you in. So that was my position. And my friend made a very, very astute observation. We were sitting there and we were having that debate or conversation, because it wasn't really a debate. We were just, shooting the breeze. He made a really profound statement. He said to me, "You don't start a race from the finish line." You know something? That says it all. They don't let you win a race if you jump in the race 100 yards before the finish line and everybody else ran 26 miles. 26.1.8 miles. Didn't Rosie Ruiz try that once in the New York Marathon? CJ, you there? Did you pass out in the booth?
No, I'm here.
Oh, okay.
I was having a problem. My mic was having a problem.
Didn't Rosie Ruiz try that?
I believe so, yes.
She took a cab to the finish line and jumped in the race. Well, she couldn't win.
I think Peter Griffin did that too on Family Guy.
Yeah, well, that's a cartoon. But this was actually real life. And you know something? He was right. But ironically enough, you can't win a race if you jump in and don't run the whole race. But theoretically, you could win an election to show how ridiculous some of the process is, that they allow you, if a write-in candidate ever got the majority, they would win an election. But we know that the only thing write-in candidates have historically done is screw elections up. What happened when we had a third-party candidate for president? Remember when
Oh, yes.
Ross Perot?
Yep, I remember.
Remember when, what's his name, the guy that was, the guy that was always, Ralph Nader. Mm-hmm. Ralph Nader. These people go in and they siphon off enough votes in the recent election in Rhode Island. They had a third candidate that siphoned off enough votes to let Gina Raimondo, the most unpopular mayor in the country, get reelected.
Governor.
Did I say something else?
You said mayor.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I got mayor fixated in my mind today.
Mayor fixation, huh?
That's where we're going, yeah.
I think you need that club sandwich.
Yeah. So the reality is that it's too late in the process anyway. Even if I was amenable to having a write-in, just walk in the 11th hour and give them equal time to people who went through the whole process, it's too late now. We are exactly 1 week and a wake-up away from the election. So if we had her on, and then CJ, since he's a write-in for city council now, a declared write-in, then we would never allow the people who theoretically are the people who should get time, because we didn't even invite Paul Coogan to come on, because we know Jaisal Carrera suspended his campaign. And we would only allow Paul to come on if we could give equal time to his duly elected in the primary opponent. So there's no way we could ever get Paul on in this space of time. And if we were starting with bringing on write-ins, we'd have to bring in CJ, since he's declared himself a candidate.
Hey, I'm not a clear.
No, I know it, you were
being facetious.
Being facetious, but yeah, and you also declared me, and I respectfully say I will not accept.
I won't accept it either. Believe me. Hey,
or do I seek the nomination for mayor? So, But I just had to get that out, and I know you've got something to say about
Well,
it. You
you know,
received a call, and I did have a meeting this morning with Kathy. She did not approach me, maybe because she was working and she realized that maybe she shouldn't. But for whatever reason, if she watches the show, I'm going to tell her exactly what I told you, the audience, so you know exactly where we stand. And it's got nothing to do with, you know, supporting anybody or not supporting anybody. Because I have always been and I've had disagreements on this, I've always been a individual who takes part in the election process. Even if I'm voting, because I have long debates about this with people who say, they both suck. I'm not going to vote for anybody. And I can't do that in good conscience. I always have to vote for the lesser of two evils. It may not be the government I want, but I still feel an obligation as a citizen, as a voter, to try to get the best government I can get.
Exactly.
So even if I've got to vote for the lesser of two evils, I will. Because I know someone will say, well, didn't you support Kathy Ann once? And that's true, because she, at the time, was the better of the two candidates. She also asked me many years ago to support her in a run against Carlton Viveris, and I didn't, because I felt that Carlton was the better candidate. I picked my candidates. In this election, I don't believe that there was any necessity for me to be involved, and of course I wasn't doing the show in those days either. But the reality was, I will support people that I really don't want to be mayor, but they're better than the other guys, so I feel an obligation to try to get the best government I can. Not just let maybe the worst guy get in because I didn't vote. That's just my philosophy. You don't have to agree with it, but that's just the way I always have voted. I have always voted in an election. I don't pass on elections. So that's the way it's going to be. I don't know. And so, CJ, you can discuss your little position and what happened, with you.
The problem has been this. This has been knocked around since she's announced. And there's a question, is she a candidate? Isn't she a candidate? Is she a legal candidate? Is she not a legal candidate? And it's interesting because Joe Macy provided a letter or an opinion that said that she is not a legal candidate, if I'm not mistaken. Is that what was told to the boards and everything else?
Well, we were told that, I don't know if it was a written opinion or what, but we were told when I questioned whether she should be in these meetings, I was told that, she can come to the meetings because she's not a real candidate. And I went, what do you mean a real candidate? And she said, because she's a write-in, she's not really technically a candidate because she didn't go through the nomination process. Well, it's a technicality, but she's still but now on the second hand, she wants to debate. She wants all the benefits of being a candidate.
Exactly.
When in fact, she's also taking advantage of the other side where she's not really a candidate, so she can keep working and going to.
Right, so she doesn't have to take a leave of absence or anything. And that's the big problem. It's duplicitous.
Yeah.
And that creates a problem because that problem then gets magnified by the electorate. And the electorate, of course, goes to social media, and then it gets blown up. So it starts out as a little problem like this, and ends up the size of the studio. And nobody knows what the hell they're talking about.
Yeah, they're saying they're being unfair. She deserves a debate. Well, no. She deserves a debate, in my opinion. And I said, she deserves a debate because if she would have pulled papers, ran in a primary, and got to the final election, then she would have been on the show. She would have got her equal time.
But the other issue is this, okay? Paul Coogan has denied any debate with Kathy Ann, refuses to debate her. And politically, I don't blame him. That's a political move that he doesn't have to. He has nothing to lose. He has, 63% of the vote. during the primary. Kathy's got an uphill battle to get over 5,000 votes. I'm sorry, I don't think that a write-in candidate's going to get 5,000 votes. And if you look at her previous mayoral runs, I don't even think she got that many then either.
Plus all the votes that were given to everybody else in that
Right.
election. So, but, no, and you're right. But the fact is, what disturbs me about the process is, what you're doing is you're saying you're going to get all the rights and privileges of somebody who stood in line, got the signatures, and did everything by the book to become well, I mean, there are people who do it and they cheat, like Steve Camara. They don't live here. But the reality is he pulled papers and he got the signatures. They were fraudulent because he didn't live at the address he said. But the fact is they went through a process. So what are you saying about the process that these people had to go through? And the Charter Commission made a big deal about securing more signatures to weed out what did they term them as? I forgot what they were called, like undesirables.
Yeah, it was something along that line.
Or the candidates that really, in other words, the people that don't match.
I remember what they said. If a candidate can't get 150 or 300 signatures, then why are they a candidate? They obviously don't deserve to be a candidate,
Well,
which I think is absolute bullshit.
It's un-American.
Yeah,
It's un-American, because if you're on a ballot, and then maybe when people hear what you got to say, you might get a hell of a lot more than 150 votes.
Exactly.
And you're right, and that's why I always objected to that. And I believe you and I agree that if you get one signature, you should be on the ballot. You can sign
I
it
always
yourself.
say the only signature that you need is yours. That's my opinion.
But it flies in the face of this write-in stuff, because if you give them the same rights and privileges of the people who do it by the rules, what are you saying? That after you go through securing all these signatures, you get humiliated in a primary, or you get through a primary. That somebody can just walk in, not do anything, don't dot any I's, don't cross any T's, walk in at the 11th hour and expect to have equal debate, have debates, equal time, equal everything on every show. So where are they going to get a debate? I heard, I don't know if it's true because I don't do Facebook, that some Facebook page, the guy that's
I believe it's Mike Sylvia from Fall River Reporter.
and he's a Jazel Correa, staunch Jazel Correa supporter.
Yes.
Is going to have a debate, and she's going to debate an empty chair. Isn't that amazing? I don't know if that's accurate. Somebody can text
Well,
us
according
if they're
to-
aware. If he has a debate and she debates an empty chair, the last person to do that, to my knowledge, although there may have been some people somewhere, the last person I know that ever did that was Clint Eastwood. And they questioned his sanity after he did that.
Exactly. But,
They were worrying if he was beginning to get dementia
yeah.
after he did that, when he had a debate with an open chair, with an
Yeah.
empty chair. So if she wants to debate an empty chair, maybe we have to suspect that there's some issues creeping into the psyche.
Well, the thing is that Kathy Ann posted that there's one entity. She didn't say who. She said one entity that is willing to hold a debate. Didn't say is going to hold the debate, is willing to hold the debate. And I believe, I could be mistaken, that was Fall River Reporter. Now, would he run a debate with an open chair? I don't think so.
I hope not.
I don't think so. He may just give her a half an hour or an hour to state her platform, which is fine. What he does is what he
Hey,
does.
that's his show. That's his platform. As
That's
you
right.
said.
He can do what he wants.
He can do what he wants.
And, it just gets to be very interesting because, I was called a puppet this weekend. I must be Geppetto and Pinocchio. Are you Geppetto? Yeah, I got snow strings to hold me down.
A puppet.
Oh, yeah. And I made it very clear. I said, I am far from any puppet. And the individual who I thought called me a puppet turned around and said, no, I'm not referring to you as the puppet. I'm referring to the candidate as the puppet, because the candidate's going to answer the way you answered in regards to a statement where it was alleged that why would Paul Coogan make a statement that whites are now the minority in the school system? And she said, you got to pick and choose your words. So it sounded almost like they were saying that he was a racist. But the problem is, and a lot of people don't understand this, funding that comes down from the federal government and the state government is based upon racial discrepancies.
Well, here we go with the political correctness again. They're going to even make that. What I'm sure, and Mr. Coogan can speak for himself, but what he was saying is that we have a far more diverse population in our schools now, and for the first time in history, actually, the whites are in a minority to other ethnic groups and other groups of color,
right, but
which was, as you said, has something to do with the educational grants and things like that, and also of how the schools approach education. But you know, it gets tiring when it is so convoluted. And you know what disturbs me more than anything else is the double standard. Anytime somebody dislikes somebody, anything you say is a racist statement. Yet, I watched a video, there's some new podcast or something coming out that's called No Safe Places. And it's done by Adam Carolla and somebody else, a comedian.
Yep.
And they show some excerpts about the people who always play the race card, the racist card, the feminist card the most often. And they're very, very telling. I'm going to watch that because they show a young, appeared to be a young college student, a high school student, screaming like an absolute maniac at someone who was apparently a Trump supporter. And when they tried to speak, this is exactly what she said. Or maybe it's a paraphrase because it's not in front of me. So I don't want to be called on, it's not exact. But you know what she screamed into the microphone? Fascists do not have freedom of speech. That's not true, dum-dum. You're in high school or college, you dumb imbecile. You imbecile to the 10th power. The greatest example of America, and I believe somebody used it, and I've used it on this show many times, was when the ACLU, which is predominantly Jewish lawyers in the case of this case, went to court to defend the American Nazis Party to have freedom of speech at a rally. That's the greatest example of what America is. People have the right to say what you don't like. But in this country, it has evolved to the point where you only got freedom of speech if you're saying what they say. That is not freedom of speech. That is suppression of freedom of speech. And if you can't figure that out, you don't understand America. Are we running the credits here? Okay. You don't understand what this country was founded on. You don't understand what people are fighting for every day. And then to make it even more nauseating how badly we got with political correctness, the Washington Post posted a headline about the terrorist who killed Americans, burnt a Jordanian pilot alive in a cage, and the original said he was killed by American troops. They changed the headline to say an austere religious cleric was killed. So you know something? The Washington Post, go write headlines for ISIS, because that's what you did. You have the audacity to change a headline to try to justify what this animal did. Burnt someone alive in a cage and killed Americans. So you know what you can do.
Yep. Have a great day now, everyone. See you on Wednesday.